Welcome to another live stream, my friends. Once again, we see Bitcoin trade right up to the trending 4-hour resistance just in time to trade sideways for the weekend. But the weekend is almost over and we are starting to see volatility pick up a little as we get closer to our weekly candle close. So I just wanted to take a quick look at Bitcoin on a few different time frames and just get a quick idea of what to expect before starting the new trading week. And like I said, you guys, we basically just traded right up to resistance just in time for the weekend. We've been seeing this happen for the last several weeks now, where we see Fridays, typically we start to climb into those resistance levels, trade sideways for Saturday and most of Sunday. And then Sunday, when we get closer to the weekly candle close, we see that volatility pick up. And generally, the downtrend has been continuing from there. Obviously, this could be different. We could end up doing the exact opposite this week and just mooning to the upside and smashing through this resistance. It's absolutely possible, right? I mean, I am seeing some signs of strength. There's no doubt about it. This is the strongest rally that we've had in approximately 7 or so weeks now. So I don't want to rule the bulls completely out and lifeless at this point. I don't think that, all hope is necessarily lost. However, we have to be careful because we are currently trading at resistance, and resistance is resistance until it's broken. So we just need to respect it as such at this point. Bitcoin doesn't have to go a whole lot higher to end up, showing some signs of bullishness in the chart structure on the 4-hour. But it does still need to go a little bit higher because as it stands, I mean, you guys know I would always rather be a buyer at support and a seller at resistance. And unfortunately, right now we are at resistance. So, I mean, you guys know, those of you who have been in my last several live streams, those of you guys who are in the Telegram channel know how I've been positioning myself for this. We did get that pump overnight, so the rest of my scalp short ended up locking in its profits, but my swing position is still very much in play. I even have another laddered entry up higher in my red box, but we'll see if we end up getting that. So far, we are just kind of struggling with that 886 resistance there. And guys, just as a little bit of a reminder for those of you interested in seeing more of my signals and thoughts on the market, time's almost up for the current promo through my partners at BloFin, who are offering my followers a sign-up promo for a $300 airdrop position, which will also get you access to my free Telegram channel, where I share more examples of how I pull fibs, clear explanation of powerful market structure, just more of my thoughts on the market in general. So do yourselves a favor and scan the QR code on the BloFin poster back here, if that is something that interests you, because like I said, the special airdrop promo for the new signups ends tomorrow. So act now if that is something that you wish to take advantage of. But yeah, guys, we just basically have to be careful right now because, like I said, not all hope is lost for the bulls. But no matter how you look at it, we are starting to trade at resistance here on the 4-hour chart. That's not just Bitcoin. I mean, we see a very similar situation with Ethereum. Ethereum actually did manage to get above that lower high, right? The fact we had a low here, lower low here, confirmed lower high here. But it was just a little fake out wick here. And then even when we got our next push here, the candle bodies still were not able to close above this one here, basically. So we're just seeing a little bit of weakness. It's nice that we at least got above this level here at about 3,060 US dollars. But again, so far, just kind of getting respected as a bit of a rejection so far. So we're going to have to see what happens there. Solana, very much the same thing. I've been pointing out this structure in the last couple streams as well. The fact that we had this low, we had our lower low, therefore we had a confirmed lower high at approximately 145 US dollars. We came right back up to that resistance and ended up getting a bit of a rejection there so far. Still haven't quite hit the 0.5 fib target. I'm not in a position on that either way, but the setup had been laid out. But very similar to Bitcoin, right? If I go to Bitcoin on the 4-hour, same thing. We had that same structure of that low, lower low, confirmed lower high, and we basically tested that lower high resistance absolutely perfectly. So we're just going to have to see what happens from here. The weekly candle close actually looking not too bad. I mean, the fact that we ended up dropping right to the 886 absolutely perfectly. getting a rejection, or not a rejection, more of a nice support bounce from that level from our 886. And then our candle bodies on the weekly have been closing above the 786 since then. And this candle as well, actually closing green on top of the 786 on the weekly time frame. So it's nice to see that a strong support level like that is holding. I do still have my concerns on the weekly chart, you guys. I've pointed this out a few times, but a couple of extra things have actually caught my eye. For one, currently, the market structure looks very similar to the top of our last market cycle. Now, part of me thinks that there's no way they would make it that easy and make it the exact same setup again. But so far, we do have the same sort of structure shaping up on the weekly time frame for a potential bull market top. Even where we got this bounce off the 886, notice what happened last cycle when we had a very similar setup here. We wicked to the 886 absolutely perfectly. We did get a bit of a bounce. We bounced basically to that 0.5 Fibonacci target, right? The first target on a typical STUBER fib. So if that is going to play out like a typical STUBER fib range, I mean, that would have been the first target there. And if we end up getting the same thing this time around, that would take us back to approximately 100,000 US dollars, which would be a nice round number to, possibly end up struggling with that level on the retest once again. And not only that, but it also lines up quite well with a support resist flip retest of this diagonal trend line. You can see back here, we kind of had that more so quicker, right, when we broke it basically last cycle, where we got very close. Actually, the following week after breaking it, we did retest it very quickly, but I guess we did the same thing here last week. So very similar. But yeah, this one basically tested the 886, bounced to the 0.5, and then carried on into its bear market. So is it possible we end up getting something very similar? Yeah, guys. I mean, I don't want to say that it's probable. I don't want to say it's happening for sure. I'm not going to say it's for surely a bear market, but there's a lot of similarities here. Even when I bring up the RSI, a lot of people are saying that, oh, the RSI is oversold. We have to end up going parabolic from here, kind of a thing. Let's just look at the actual RSI. Let's look at what the RSI was at last cycle when we ended up testing, like I said, that very similar chart setup there. Let's look at what the RSI was at when we ended up testing that 886 fib pocket there, right there. And notice how close the RSI is basically at the same level of strength that we have with the same sort of market structure, the same timeline on our 4-year cycle. We had our 152 weeks to the upside from bear market low to bull market peak, and then causing all the exact same structure. Typically market cycles don't really need to repeat 100%. They don't need to be the exact same, but they often do share very common characteristics. And as it looks right now there's a lot of red flags right now on the longer time frames like this that suggests that, there's nothing saying that we need to go to all-time highs again at this point. I'm not saying that a nice bounce isn't very possible. And honestly, we could go to new all-time highs, right? That's the thing. That's why invalidations are so important. If we just end up climbing to the upside, breaking our all-time highs, invalidating the 4-year cycle, and we start setting higher highs, then we have confirmed higher lows that we're able to long on the way up and continue chasing that staircasing structure. You know what? Fantastic if we end up getting that. But as it stands right now, even the fact that we lost this horizontal level, not just the diagonal, but this horizontal level, if this were the 5-minute, this is where I would be looking for a typical STUBER fib setup from our new rejection point here, and looking for a retest of that 786, 886, 115. So basically resistance starting at the 786. And that would currently be sitting at around 116.5 thousand US dollars. So even if we do get a very nice welcomed bounce out of this market, I would still be careful as we get to important resistance levels, right? I'm not saying there's not long opportunities to be had. Yes, there's buy opportunities, there's sell opportunities. This is a very large time frame, and things to play out on the weekly can take a very long time. But just from a structural point of view and looking at, similarities in previous bull market tops and just market structure in general. Yeah, I have my concerns about this chart on the longer time frames like this. And guys, again, I am happy to be wrong on this. I would love nothing more than to see this market go parabolic. That would be so good for my investments, for my spot holdings. The trading account, that can go either direction. I do not care which way we go as far as the trading direction goes. So I mean, I would love to see us go to the upside. I just want to really try and keep a level head and keep my emotions at bay. And, especially until the charts start to prove themselves that we could start seeing that kind of price action. So guys, if you do appreciate the fact that I try and be the voice of reason in this market, I try and keep a level head and just trade the charts for what they are, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. But yeah, it's so good to see so many of you familiar faces here in day out. Pretty much every daily stream, I see so many of the same people in here. And I love to see that you guys actually want to see the charts and the chart structure for what it is, rather than just hearing the same hopium, FOMO, all-time highs are coming next week kind of a thing. That gets so old, and it's so dangerous to listen to those kinds of people that only have one gear. Just understand that the charts don't give a shit about our feelings and fundamentals, although they can push the price in certain directions. If those fundamentals are going to matter, the chart structure will also back that up. So that's where, guys, I say it all the time, I trade charts, not tweets. And that's exactly why, because if the fundamentals matter, the charts will show that. Whereas on the opposite side of things, everyone's saying how could you be bearish? Everything's so fundamentally bullish as we were trading up here. How did that go, right? Even though the fundamentals were bullish and we could have kept going to the upside, we started breaking structure to the downside. So it didn't really matter, right? Looking at the shorter time frames, I am still interested in, if we can bounce a little bit higher, I'm actually interested in a short setup because we have a potential STUBER fib setup. Unfortunately, seeing weakness a little bit early, so may not get the entries that I have set up in here. Those of you guys in my Telegram channel, you guys got my exact plan with that. My entries, my targets, my stop loss, all that sort of stuff. So again, if that's something that interests you, scan the QR code, take advantage of that BloFin promo, get in there. But yeah, that's one setup that I'm currently really eyeing up at this point if we end up getting that bounce. But we are going to have to see. Another thing that may show us weakness a little bit early is, I know right now we still have these buy signals and sell signals on the MDX Trendmaster trending to the upside on the 5-minute. If we end up basically, this would likely take a few hours to end up forming, but basically get some sort of a buy signal again out of this indicator and then a lower trending sell signal. In that case, I would be looking at the possibility that weakness is coming into the trend early and we may not actually get back up to that resistance, because let's face it, we are at that 4-hour resistance. There's nothing saying we have to retest the 5-minute resistance at this point. We could very much just end up getting rejected at the 4-hour 886 basically. One thing that I'm currently watching for, and that I just have a feeling is going to happen right here. You guys know I've been watching the MDX retail long short indicator recently. If we see retail shorts start piling in again, we're kind of flatlined here, likely because it's the weekend. But if we see these shorts start to curl back to the upside, then I think that's actually fuel for the rocket ship, where we could end up getting a bit of a short squeeze and blasting through this resistance. However, as it's currently looking, I would say, if anything, that retail is starting to build long positions as we are trading into that resistance level again. I say it all the time that we see retail flip bullish and get FOMO at resistance, just like they get scared and panic at support. This is just a visualization of that retail is starting to get FOMO as we're trading into an important resistance level, right? So this could still go the other way. Like I said, shorts could end up building and the longs, drop off a cliff, in which case we would likely continue trading to the upside. But if the retail longs continue to climb as we trade into this resistance level here, unfortunately, I think at that point we would be looking at retesting support a little bit lower in the range for some kind of a retest. Like I said, yeah, Ethereum kind of in the same situation, looking not too bad, but it is at resistance no matter how you look at it. Similar with Solana. Solana actually looks a little bit weaker to me, just getting a rougher rejection off that lower high resistance structure. But, not all hope is lost yet. We will see, but the trend is still to the downside. So that's about all there is to that at this point. Let me know in the chat how you're all doing. Thank you so much for being here with me once again. Really appreciate doing these live streams with you guys. So yeah, if you appreciate being here, please once again smash that thumbs up button, whether it's for me and my level-headed approach, for you guys, for yourself for being here. Just thumbs up for the vibes in general goes a long way. Thank you so much. It's a new YouTube channel, so all that sort of stuff helps the algorithm a ton, you guys. Ooh, in shorts on BTC, Ethereum, and Solana on the 4-hour. I agree with what you're looking at. If you're looking at something similar to what I just suggested about the downtrend on the 4-hour, so I don't blame you at all for being in shorts. One thing to consider is very likely if one of those positions ends up getting stopped out, there's a good chance they're all going to end up breaking out and getting stopped out, right? So just consider that with your risk management. But yeah, the way I'm looking at it is no matter how you look at it, is that we are trading at resistance. So whether or not it ends up breaking out, yeah, resistance breaks sometimes, but resistance is resistance until it's broken. Adrian and Stu's streams, what a Sunday, late night bear stories. Exactly. What's my opinion on trading bots? Do I ever use them? I literally set up my first one ever today. We'll see how that goes. Don't have a lot of experience with that, but it is something that I'm interested in. Addicted to hopium, aren't we all? That's the thing. Even those who are bearish, like myself, when I'm, bearish about the charts and stuff, understand that's just from a trading point of view and, just trading the trend for what it is. But if we go parabolic and the investments, and, I've been dollar cost averaging into some projects with some of the profits out of my Bitcoin shorts and stuff like that. So yeah, if we go parabolic, yeah, that hopium, I love to have a little bit of hopium too. Just when it comes to actually trading, I try and set those emotions aside. Everyone looking for more upside to follow the equity markets very well could be. I think everyone is looking. Oh, same message there. Yeah, exactly. I think there's a lot of people still full of hopium that think that we need to go to all-time highs. But again, guys, I don't want to say all hope is lost, because the fact that retail did actually give up for a little bit and start building shorts, that was able to push us to the upside a little bit. So if retail starts actually shorting resistance this time for once, rather than FOMOing into it, that would give us that rocket fuel to, like I said, get a bit of a short squeeze and actually break through that. And that starts to change the actual structure of the chart, in which case I'll be more excited to, especially in altcoins, be looking more aggressively for those long setups on pullbacks. But yeah, anyways, my friends, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. I just wanted to do a quick live stream before the weekly candle close, basically, because I think volatility is going to kick in relatively soon. And just don't be too surprised if we see that resistance kick into gear. If we can break through that and start looking for pullbacks to long at that point, great. We're just not there for myself yet anyways. So we'll have to see. But yeah, like I said, I think that's about all I wanted to go over. So if you appreciate these live streams, please do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And as I mentioned already, as a reminder for those of you interested in learning and seeing more examples of some of my favorite trade strategies, my partners at BloFin are currently giving a sign-up airdrop for my followers, which also gets you access to my private Telegram channel, where I share some of my trade setup ideas, how I use Fibonacci's and market structure, and give more of my thoughts on the market in general. So yeah, if that's something that interests you, do yourselves a favor and get in my Telegram and seize that promo on BloFin for that airdrop. If that is something that interests you, by scanning the QR code. Let me just bring that up here on the poster for you guys. And with that, thank you so much for being here with me once again, my friends. I am out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.